It all starts with a bird and migrates to the sea. It's funny how these stories unfold. This little bird ends up protecting the whole archipelago. In 1971, the Portuguese government realised that the bird numbers were so low that they were on the verge of being unsustainable. So the government bought these islands in a great act of leadership to protect the birds. And of course it did. Making that boundary to protect the birds, one of the default mechanisms and sort of spin-offs was that the fish became protected. And now we know more about the fish, the Portuguese government know more about the marine life here. They've realised that this archipelago needs a true, internationally recognised, robust and enforced marine protected area.
Portugal is all about oceans. Our jurisdiction area is more than 40 times our land area. So we are essentially an ocean country, but we still have to find our place there, because without the oceans, humans would not exist. The biodiversity that our areas enclose, it's really, really important for us, and I think a legacy for the future, but we need to understand it better.
Yeah, it's a great time in an explorer's life. We're sailing this evening from Tenerife here, and we're going to sail north just over 100 miles to the Selvagens Islands, which are Portuguese territory in the Atlantic, lined up with the Western Sahara and Morocco. Not much is really known about it. There's been a lot of surveys done, but nothing in depth the way we're going to do it. So we're going to conduct the first comprehensive marine science survey of the Selvagens Islands.
First stop is to meet the rangers and the biologists and get the lowdown on where we can go, what we can do, what we can't do, meet them, kind of tell them what we're doing. Pretty excited to step foot on land, but even more excited to get in the water.
We're here at Selvagens Grande, which is the large island in the Selvagens group. And before we start work, we need to get our briefing from Carolina Santos, who is the ranger here. And she's going to give us a briefing on the rules and regulations, how this park is managed, where we can go, where we can't go, because we're very much in partnership with the Portuguese authorities on this. And what do you think of it so far? Fantastic. Okay, good. Welcome to our morning routine on Pristine Seas. This is a scene that's repeated all over the world on these expeditions. Just before the sun comes up, we're getting organised when the sun does come up, because we need good light to do the science and do the filming. So it's all action. We sort of go from this sort of waking up, wow, what a beautiful morning, to bang, let it happen.
The purpose of this expedition was to do really the first comprehensive quantitative survey from the shallow waters all the way to the deep around the Selvagens Islands. Not been done before, and this was the first way to really get a snapshot of the entire ecosystem.
We want to know the biomass of the overall environments here in the Selvagens, and to compare those with other areas, and also to compare the types of species that show up in these areas, since it's very important to know how these pristine sites differ from the areas which are much more impacted by human activities.
What we do is we lay out transect lines, we count and size all the fishes within prescribed areas. We can take these numbers and size estimates and come up with a biomass or weight.
And we count every seaweed or every invertebrate. Doing this, we obtain more or less what the sea bottom looks like. It's different according to every single site we visit.
We stay down for about an hour. We sample both at 20 meters and at 10 meters, and we come up, we compare notes, we get a pretty good idea of what was going on that site, and then we move to the next site. It's basically dive all day, and then enter data all night, and then rinse and repeat all over again. 35 dives each, so a few hundred hours underwater. I feel like we have a good estimation of all the different habitats.
We had a lot of success with the pelagic cameras this time. Blindingly simple, an aluminium rig with 2 GoPros on it, and they chuck them in the sea with some bait and go get them a couple hours later.
And the diversity of animals that we've seen on these pelagic cameras has just been amazing, more diverse than any other place we've studied to date. I think a lot of these animals use this as a waypoint between navigating between all these different islands along the North African and European coast. So they're pretty critical for a lot of these species that are really important and are in a lot of trouble. The drop cameras, and these are deep sea cameras that have been to the deepest spots in the ocean, 30,000 feet down, as far as you can go. And every time we throw these things in the water, we're always finding something new and unique coming up. We had some small-toothed sand tiger sharks on a few dives. We had a couple other interesting sharks, but at intermediate depths were really interesting, full of lots of little juvenile fish, so it's probably an important nursery habitat.
I really think it's key to have good scientific data in order to inform the policy. It's really, really useful for what should be the next steps.
The fact that we know so little about the ocean, and it means so much to so many people, that we really need to protect it, and we need to understand it. You can't protect what you don't know.
I love the sense of exposure that we get here at the Selvagens, because we really do feel that we're in the centre of the Atlantic. We're not in the centre of the Atlantic, we're on the East Atlantic, but it has a sense of beautiful exposure to the power of the sea. It's a double-edged sword being this exposed. As soon as the waves kick up, as soon as them storms come in, wow, there's no place to hide. We've been diving these shipwrecks around here, and it's living proof. They bear witness to the fact that this is a savage place. But there is very, very strong, powerful reminder of what happens when things go wrong at sea here. And this Italian ship, a beautiful, sturdy Italian cargo ship, got it wrong one night and ended up right on this beach. There's something about the sobering thought of what it was like that night when this thing ran aground. This is a really powerful, wild place. And we don't use that term easily. We talk about saving the wild places in the ocean. These are the Selvagens, the savage islands, and we're exposed. But boy, we are, and it's always on our minds.
There's a lot of little offshore islets, which are fascinating places. They were kind of rough and surgy, and a lot of the fish really like that. The big jacks and the chubs, rudderfish, all were hanging out in the surf zone.
We saw large fish in almost all dives, so large groupers everywhere. And this is really something that we don't see anymore, unfortunately, in most of European shores or even in the nearby islands. Which means that it's important to not only keep preserving and conserving these islands, but also expanding this preservation of the islands and conserving these environments.
This expedition was very comprehensive. We went everything from the intertidal area, looking at limpets, to the nearshore environment, fishes, algae, invertebrates, to the pelagic environment, the open ocean environment, which was incredibly rich. What we find in these small isolated places is they're incredibly fragile. Most of the small animals, the juveniles that recruit to these places, come from this place almost exclusively. So if you damage the resources here, or if you overexploit the populations here, they'll never recover. So we really need to redouble the efforts in places like this. They're incredibly fragile, they're small, they're vibrant, but yet also very frail at the same time.
Well, we're leaving this expedition with a sense of robustness. You know, there are some expeditions we leave and we think, geez, I hope it's going to be okay. But there's a sense of confidence as we leave this place because it's in fantastic condition. It's pristine, but the sea has been fished a lot and it is under pressure.
At a moment in time today where we cannot say that we don't know anymore what's going on. So there is enough information to act.
We've just scratched the surface. The ocean occupies 99% of the volume of the planet, and yet we know so little about it. It's really important to protect these areas now while they're still in a healthy state.